bring them down a peg or 3. So I was able to witness this awesome woman and her righteous indignance. Oh, fuck you. So Hypatia, I've just been saying ever since. So enough about that. Hypatia represents the Hispanic American freethinkers and has been active in the North Virginia community for the past 30 years. She currently serves as a member of the Hispanic Business and Technology Council Board, and she assists young Hispanics in advancing their education and preparing them to be active participants in their careers and communities. I should have known that because you're so passionate. In 2006, Hypatia founded the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of North Virginia, whose goal is to connect Hispanic and non-Hispanic businesses. So everyone, this is Hypatia, one of your panel members. Next is Deanna. And Deanna and I have met today. This is our first time meeting at this event. But we've been Facebook friends for years, and man, is she vocal. Like, she would drag you in a nice, professional way. But she's an awesome blogger, just a prolific, profound wordsmith. So when she accepted our invitation to participate, I was greatly looking forward to it because between her dimples, her words, I just knew I was going to have an awesome time when I met her. And I did. So a little bit about Deanna. Deanna Adams is a multifaceted Black atheist woman who has many irons in the proverbial fire. Her essay, Black Women and Christianity Part 2, is featured in Women vs. Religion, The Case Against Faith and for Freedom, edited by Karen Garst. After going through deconversion by leaving an abusive marriage and the church, she created the blog Musings on a Limb, where she expresses her views as an African American, atheist, and professional mom on subjects related to the intersectionality of racism and skepticism. Deanna has also served as a board member of Houston area Black Nonbelievers and the Humanists of Houston. So I'm introducing your panel member, Deanna Adams. And last, but certainly not least, my babe, Hannah. Who, when I met Hannah, I was like, man, they're so awesome and so young. And I think being part of this, I got into this community older, and I had a lot of anger because I felt like I should have been woke like a lot of these young people. And I just wasted all this time chasing God, Jehovah, and to come into this group, this organization, and see these amazing, vocal young people kind of shine a mirror upon me and what I didn't do or couldn't do because I didn't have the knowledge. So you kind of just glean and just learn, which is what I've done with Hannah. And I've met Hannah. We've known each other for several years. So a little bit about Hannah. Hannah Databoy spent their childhood as a practicing Muslim who never envisioned that they would grow up to be an atheist, feminist, secular humanist. Hannah has been an active participant in atheist organizations and events in and around Orange County, California since 2007. Since 2011, they have been a speaker on the national stage on a range of diverse topics, including feminism, race, LGBT issues, the challenges of deconversion, Islam, non-monogamy, and strategies for inclusivity. You may have heard them at Skepticon, Huffington Post Live, and Have Your Say on the BBC World Service, or read about them in the New York Times. So as you can see, Hannah gets around. So without further ado, I'm going to present to you the panel on intersectionality and feminism. I'm not sure if there are questions. I wasn't given any questions.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, I guess I'll be the lucky one and start. My name is Hypatia Alexandria, and I'm a PhD student in Virginia Tech, and my field is transportation, which sounds a little bit boring, but transportation is a tool that can be used to segregate and oppress people. Okay? Now, we can go into an entire conversation here or how, why, but I'll give a very quick explanation. If you set up communities according to zoning, which is another tool to segregate people, that was the core reason why zoning was created to start with. You put certain groups of people in certain areas, and then you take transportation away from them, and what do you have? An isolated community. So that's why transportation can be a very effective tool to do such a thing. Today I'm here to talk about intersectionality between many things, but I want to focus on education mainly, because in education you find so many different ways to oppress people of color, particularly women. For example, today, in most of my classes I can find, if I'm lucky, one Latina, a couple of black students, and that's about it. So, you can be very effective in keeping the status quo through education. And on top of that, you have another layer of screening very carefully who you are admitting, and that you end up with a very selective group of your own as a university. So, I'm not gonna tell anybody here what they should believe or anything like that, but I just want you to think from my point of view what I'm seeing in education. I'm studying pedagogy right now because I've decided that teaching is a good way to give minorities, especially particularly women, because that's where my passion is with women. They are so, especially Latinas, they are enslaved, they are invisible, they've been abused, and this was done from the conquistadors' time, so it's something embedded in our DNA. This is not something that has been taught in yesterday's class or started yesterday in college or education. It's been since day one, and it's been so effective that most Latinas don't even know that that's happened to them. So, I decided to go into some, to prepare myself to teach so I can be somebody in the classroom that students like me can relate to. And we were discussing the subject of diversity and inclusion. And the question was like, well, why are you taking this class? Well, I'm taking this class because when you ask, where are the Latino students? Where are the Latino potential faculty? We've called everybody, we've looked everywhere, and we cannot see them. Well, I'm right here in front of you. Can you see me? I'm even in your class. How can you not see me? So, that to me, that was like, oh my gosh, another wake-up call, one after the other, racism, ageism, gender, everything. And we see that in education, in our universities where it's supposed to be a place to learn, to be tolerant, to discuss differences in a safe environment. And I don't mean a safe environment where if I tell you something, you're going to be offended, because if that's the case, that's the door. There are things that are going to offend, and I don't even like the word. There are things that are going to insult people one way or another. No matter what anyone says, is going to have unintended consequences for another group. So my advice, when you've been invisible, when you've been oppressed, when you've been enslaved mentally, is to just come out and say it, and then deal with the consequences, whether they're intended or unintended, as opposed to not talk about anything and pretend that everything is perfect. And there is acceptance of you in spite of not belonging to this group or that group. And so, that's what took me, that's what piqued my interest in education. Also, I wanted to mention quickly that the intersectionality was, it's a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, which was a critical race, color, and media theorist. And she did that to address the connection between dimensions of oppression that shape lived experience. Which takes me to another point. A lot of the time they say, well, why do you want diversity in a classroom? Well, you want diversity in the classroom because you want that student coming into as a freshman to look up and see somebody that looks like them, that might have certain points, some commonality, and they will feel inspired to move ahead and keep studying.